Hello, welcome to lesson 3, which will be adding and subtracting whole numbers. Use less than, greater than, or equal to. This is mainly a review from our last lesson. If you remember, just take a look at the place values. And this is greater here. 3 is greater than 2 in the hundreds, so that'll be greater. And number 2 as well, we see that the 4 here is greater than the 3 in the hundreds place, so the alligator will want to eat that way. And that same concept applies all the way through, and hopefully this should just be a quick review. Now let's move on to adding and subtracting. I will go over question 1, 2, and 6 because those are the 3 different types of problems that are shown. So going with number 1, in order to do long addition, you'd first write the first number at the top, put that addition sign in the left, the plus, and then line up the second number's place values with the first numbers. Then you can add from top to bottom. 3 plus 3 is 6, 0 plus 9 is 9, 2 plus 1 is 3, 0 plus 2 is 2, 3 plus 8 is 11, however, that 10's place in the 11 moves up, while the 1's place stays down here. And 9 plus 1 plus 2 is 12. So your answer should look like this. Now for subtraction, it's almost the same, except you are subtracting vertically and there's a minus sign here. And there are some other things that I will talk about. So immediately you notice you cannot subtract 3 from 2. So what you do is you need to borrow from the number before, and so it loses 1, but it gives you 10 in the next one. Or sorry, it will become 12 because it gave you 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. So 12 minus 3 here is 9. 8 minus 9, again we cannot do this. So we borrow from 3, which becomes a 2. The 8 becomes 18. 18 minus 9 is 9. 2 minus 2 is 0. 9 minus 9 is 0. 9 minus 1 is 8. And this should be your answer. Now moving on to number 6. In order to have more room, I will do my work up here. So for these types of questions, I will approach them one at a time, adding only 2 numbers together at a time. So let's just start with these 2 numbers first. 1,293,192 plus, and again make sure you line up these place values, 28,000, which would start right under this 9. So now you can just do the simple addition. 9 plus 2, 11. Make sure that 10's place gets carried up. 9 plus 1 plus 3 is 13. Again, with that 10's place getting carried up. 1 plus 1 plus 0 is 2. 3 plus 8 is 11. 9 plus 1 plus 2 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. And that 1 is just left there hanging. So this will be your answer. However, we are not done because we have this one extra number to add. And so thus we will add this to the first sum that we calculated. So again, line up the place values here. We have it next to the thousands. 204. And then we can do this math right here. 1 plus 4 is 5. 3 plus 0 is 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. 1 plus 1 is 2. And again, the rest of these are hanging, so you can just copy them right on over. And this should be your final answer. Moving on, this type of problem requires us to combine what we did at first, which is comparing numbers, and also adding and subtracting like we did up here. So I will do questions 1 and 3 because one of them is subtraction and one is addition. So now let's try number 1. First, we need 3,000 minus 2,541. And notice how everything is 0 up here, and we can't subtract these numbers from 0. So we need to borrow from the number that we can subtract from. So this makes that a 2. Borrow it over, turns it into 10. But then that next 0 needs to borrow again, so that becomes 9, and this becomes 10. Then again, it borrows from that 10, so it turns into a 9. And finally, we're left with 10 in the 1's place. So now 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 4 is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. So actually, this alone will be our answer. Now let's move on to the right side and do the math there. I will move over this 459. So now trying that other side. 4,200 minus 3,756. Again, we have a lot of zeros here, and even this 2, we cannot subtract 7 from 2, so we must borrow from the thousands place, making this a 3. This becomes 12, but again we borrow and it becomes 11, and this becomes 10. But again, we need to borrow it so that 10 becomes a 9, and the 0 becomes a 10. So now 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 5 is also 4. 11 minus 7 is also 4. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So this is our answer here. So 4, 4, 4. Now we can just make this comparison right here, which you can tell 459 is definitely greater than 444 because that tens place is already one value greater. So thus, the sign will go this way. Now moving on to number 3. This one's slightly simpler because it is just addition. And because we went over it earlier, I will just go quickly through it. But same concept, you do that math first, and then you figure out the comparison. So here, 3 plus 2, 5, 3 plus 4, 7, 3 plus 1, 4, 3 plus 4, 7, 3 plus 1, 4, and that 2 is hanging, which is 0 plus 2, you can imagine. So this is our first number on the left. Let's not confuse that little bar with a negative sign. And let me get rid of this work. And let's do that right side. 211,500 plus 39,920. 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 2 is 2, 9 plus 5 is 14, 9 plus 1 is 11, 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5, and that 2 plus 0 is 2. So that is our number on the right. And again, if you take a look here, that 10,000s place is greater on this right side, so the sign will go that way. Now let's try some word problems. There are 29,392 fish living in a pond and 40,302 fish living in the lake. How many more fish are living in the lake? By how much? Now this problem is asking us to find the difference between the amount of fish in the lake and the amount of fish in the pond. And to do that, you need to use subtraction. Now I've done all the work here already because we have reviewed how to do long subtraction. So hopefully the technique is already familiar for you. However, understand that this type of problem is asking you to subtract. And if you do that, the answer will be 10,910 fish is the difference. Now for this last problem, we need to use this table to answer the two questions. So if you look at this table, it shows you the year right here, the days, and the amount of people every day that showed up during this festival. So keep that in mind. Now, what was the total attendance at the festival in 2003? So now what this question is asking you is to find the total amount of people who came to this festival in 2003. And to do that, you need to add up the amount of people that came every day of the festival. Now I've shown that math already here because we've done a lot of addition earlier, and if you need to know how to do that, make sure to review that earlier in the video. But you should end up with 72,905 people who attended in 2003. Now for question 3, how many more people attended the festival in 2004 than in 2003? Now for this problem, you need to find the difference between the total number of people who attended in 2004 from the total of 2003. So I already prepped the equation here, but we find that first you find the total amount of people who went 2004, and which is this number right here. And then you subtract that from that first number we found, which is the total from 2003, and that should leave you with the answer of 10,472 people.